In this lesson, we will be starting with a very important concept called as role-based access control, often abbreviated as RBAC. Drupal has a well-designed role-based system that controls what every user on the system can see or do on Drupal based on the role assigned to them. This is a fundamental part of any non-trivial website. This is what allows you to create user ID and passwords on the system. In the simplest example, this allows the content creator role to create content, and this also prevents a casual visitor to your site from accidentally editing or deleting your material. Let us first understand the meaning of a role. Every organization, every team game, every social construct have roles in them. And you will already be familiar with this in real life scenarios. Football has roles like goalkeeper, captain, referee, or umpire, and so on. These are all different roles. They have permissions to do certain things which others cannot do. In exactly the same way, Drupal also has the concept of roles. On the screen now, you can see the roles page in Drupal. There are three built-in roles, that is anonymous, authenticated, and administrator. New users on Drupal find it difficult to understand the structure clearly, so I will explain this in depth. In fact, these three roles are pre-built into Drupal out of the box. There is also another secret role which I will show shortly. And furthermore, you can define and create new roles exactly as per your requirements. And this is how workflows can be built into your web application. This powerful RBAC engine comes out of the box in Drupal core. Roles are closely associated with permissions. That is, whether a particular action can be done or not, or whether a particular information is accessible to a certain user or not. In fact, abstractly, a role is nothing but a name given to a set of permissions on Drupal. The first point to note is that roles are all hierarchical in nature. At level 1 here, there are only two types of roles. Anyone who has an account, that is a user ID password on your Drupal site, is an authenticated role. All others who don't have accounts and are just visitors to your site are with this anonymous role. Every other role in Drupal is actually a derivative of this authenticated user role. It logically follows that anonymous role is never derived any further, because the moment that an anonymous user creates an account, they are now authenticated. You should also now understand the meaning of authentication and authorization, as RBAC is sometimes referred to as. Authentication means having an user ID password. You can authenticate into the system. Authorization, on the other hand, means having certain permissions to see certain areas of the site and to do certain tasks. Coming back, administrator is a special type of authenticated role. This role, by definition, will have a higher set of privileges than all other roles. But there is a hidden king of administrators, and that is this first user that you create at the very beginning during installation of Drupal. This user is called as user 1. This name comes from the fact that in the database, this first user will have an ID of 1 and also a special URL that is used by Drupal. A small tip for you. You can sometimes have fun with Drupal sites by appending this URL and checking out the superadmin details. At every level of the hierarchy, the child role will have all the privileges of the parent and perhaps more. So you can see that both the admin and the user created roles will already have all the permissions of the authenticated role, and then perhaps more permissions specific to this role. A common example of the user created role is the content creator. or also editor or approver. These are not roles that come out of the box, but you might create it for your own site if it is meaningful to you. Essentially, all permissions are merged into what the user experiences. So, if a user is logged in as some sample role, they get everything an authenticated user can do, plus whatever sample role also allows, all the way up the hierarchy. So, if you want some users restricted from something, authenticated user should be the lowest level of permissions and other roles should increase their permissions up the hierarchy. These are very important concepts that you have learned in this lesson. The best practice is when you are designing your web application, at the same time you should also define the roles clearly in your design. If you have questions or doubts, feel free to ask them. I have a simple assignment for you on the screen. You can answer them on the Q&A forum of this course. In the next lesson, I am going to talk about user account settings and how we can create new users on the system. See you in the next lesson.